Professor Atul Bhoskar, he has a bachelor's in science and physics with electronics and a MA in Buddhist studies. He's a gold medalist. He conducts Pali language courses and workshops on Buddhist heritage. He has organized international conferences, and one of it was inaugurated by His Highness the Dalai Lama. He runs workshops on Buddhist caves, and he initiated a diploma in Buddhist archaeology. He researches on Emperor Ashoka's inscriptions and Buddhist caves. He has transliterated ancient texts. He gives lectures on Buddhist culture and has published various articles. Professor Atul Bhoskar has numerous citations, including Samaj Bhushan. He's been listed in the Limca Book of Records for teaching Dhamma Lipi, and he's the founder of president of Bodh Sahitya Prasarak Mandal and the director of Tribulis. We are very glad to have you here, and we now request you to share your insights and give your talk. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Namo Buddhaya and Jai Bhim to all of you. Am I audible? Hello, am I
Yes, we
audible?
can hear you. Yeah, we
Yes,
can.
sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
fine. I would just like to share my screen and yeah. Documents. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Are you able to see the PPT?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. I'll just minimize this. Fine. So once again, Namo Buddhaya and Jai Bhim to all of you. So the topic which I'll be speaking is on Buddhist caves, cultural heritage. Before we venture into the main subject, let us try to understand what exactly do we mean by culture. As per UNESCO, cultural heritage refers to the legacy of physical artifacts and intangible attributes of a group or society that are inherited from the past generations, maintained in the present, and bestowed for the benefit of future generations. This is the most important definition of culture. It also encompasses both tangible elements like monuments, buildings, and artifacts, and intangible elements like tradition, languages, beliefs, and artistic expressions. Essentially, cultural heritage is a community's way of life passed down through time, reflecting its identity and history. Let us see how can Buddhist caves be cultural heritage? Before we venture into this topic, we need to understand what is Buddhist culture, why were the Buddhist caves excavated, and how do they represent the Buddhist culture. Oh, I think something is missing. Well, as we all know, the Buddha's major principles are wisdom, morality, and compassion. That is what we call in regular Marathi is Prajna, Sheel, and Karuna. The Buddha also believed and preached in equality irrespective of financial or societal standing. Once we just browse even through the Pali Tripitaka, we can come across various examples which states that the Buddha never made any differentiation whether the person is a king, a prince, or even a lay person. And that is the reason why the Buddha said that just because of the financial or the societal, because those were the days when even today in the Indian atmosphere, we see that people are divided based on their caste, based on their religion. The Buddha never believed either in the financial standing or the societal thing. What basically he said was every person has a right to understand the Dhamma and learn the Dhamma, whatever is been preached. The second most important thing is that Buddha had always believed in equality amongst all men and women. That is the reason we find he was the first person in the world to allow females to become monks and become a part of his Sangha. No other religious leader ever gave this leverage to the women. The Buddha also believed in free and rational thinking. In fact, this we come to know from one of the sutta which probably we all know, known as the Kalama Sutta. In Kalama Sutta, the Buddha says that just because someone is telling you, somewhere it is written, someone is coercing you to admit it, do not do it. Only do those things, only accept such a thing which you really believe in, that it will not do any harm neither to you, neither to anyone else. And he said that you should have a rational mind whenever you take a decision. So the Buddha basically preached what we normally call as a very free and rational thinking. The Buddha also believed in rearranging the society structure. There has been, the society was divided amongst various castes. And basically, when the Buddha saw these things, he said that this is the most impractical thing. This is the most illogical thing. And therefore, when the Buddha preached his Dhamma, he ensured that all men and women of various financial strata, of various societal strata, are always equal. And therefore, when he preached the Dhamma, and those people who accepted his Dhamma and became his disciple were divided into two groups. That is the monks. One is a female monk, one is a male monk. And for the lay disciples, he had what he called it as upasak, that is a lay disciple, males, and upasika, that is lay disciples, women. In fact, the Buddha rearranged the societal structure, divided it into its only four people, that is the bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, and upasak and upasika. This was absolutely a very path-breaking initiative which the Buddha took, and basically he showed that he does not believe in any caste system which was prevalent in those times. It was basically this teaching of the Buddha that really brought a sea change in the overall thinking pattern of people. Apart from self-progress, each person started thinking about the progress of his fellow beings. The Buddha preached, as we all know from the historical data, the period was 6th century BCE. The Buddha's period, what we normally talk about 6th century BCE, and the teachings, what he did, was followed across, and people throughout the various regions, various kingdoms, though prevalent in those times, as well as various countries, followed the Buddha's path. And when you look at the history, you will see that from 6th century BCE to 12th century current era, that is for nearly 1600 years, the Indian society was influenced by the Buddha's Dhamma. It is this period that one can see a lot of innovations in the field of academics, that is philosophy, science, literature, psychology, and humanities. More importantly, in art, architecture, paintings, and agriculture. It is very amazing to note that this period is also noted to have the highest GDP in India. And of course, during this period, India had a 33% stake in international markets. Just to give you an example, the present international share or stake of China and the US put together is only 29%. So you can imagine how rich India was during this particular period. And that is why this period is aptly known as the golden period of India. Or, like they say in Hindi, India was known as Sone ki Chidiya. The Mauryas were the first to introduce carvings in stone. It was also one of the largest empires in the world. The Mauryas were known for their splendid palaces, stone architecture, and administration. Emperor Ashoka erected stupas, stone columns, caves, the Mahabodhi Mahavihara, and inscriptions carved in stone. Believe me, before this period, there is no documentation that any of these things existed before the Mauryan period or before the Buddhist cultural period. Now, why were the caves excavated? The reason for this goes once we read the Vinay Pitaka. In the Vinaya, during the monsoon season, when the monks were going from village to village, there were new sprouts, that is, the new plants which were developing. The insects, the animals, they were being born, and it is during this period that you see a lot of greeneries, a lot of plants emerging from the ground, a lot of seeds sprouting. So when the monks were walking through these things, they felt that they were treading the insects. A lot of insects, minor insects, were getting killed. And there was also a difficulty of traveling from one village to another because during those days, monsoon was very severe and the rivers were getting flooded. And therefore, the monks had to face loss of inconvenience. It was during this period when the Buddha observed it, and then he decided and he made a rule that during the monsoon period, that is for 3 months, the monks would be staying at one place, discussing the Dhamma, practicing the Dhamma, and educating the lay people on Dhamma. So during the monsoon retreat, the monks stayed either at some abandoned place or built a thatched hut inside a forest or stayed in the natural cavern of a mountain. Now, many a times these thatched huts used to get destroyed because of the storm or because of severe rain, and the lay people used to just help them build it once again. Sorry. It was Emperor Ashoka who first observed the inconvenience for the monks during this monsoon period. And therefore, to make a permanent structure around 250 BCE, that is before the current era, Ashoka excavated the first cave in the Barabar Mountains in the present state of Bihar. Ashoka was the first person to use chisel and hammer to carve out structure in a mountain. This unique architecture, which was totally unknown to Indian subcontinent before the Ashoka's period, was immediately spread to various parts of the country, what we today call as Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Goa. Friends, on an approximate basis, at present there are 1200 caves excavated in India, out of which 80% are Buddhist caves, 15% are Hindu or Brahmin caves, and 5% are Jain caves. Maharashtra has the highest number of caves in India, mounting to nearly 1100 caves. Amongst these caves in Maharashtra, the Buddhist caves represent an approximate number of 980 caves. And of course, worst part is, out of this 980 caves, encroachment by various other religions, especially the temples, the encroachment rate is nearly 400 caves in Maharashtra have been encroached by other religion. This is the first cave which was excavated by Emperor Ashoka in the Barabar and Nagarjuni hills. This is known as the Barabar caves. You can imagine the architecture of this cave. Just with chisel and hammer, the artist, the sculptures, they carved out beautiful cave. And this is the entire room. This is the entrance to the cave. You can see how beautiful it has been designed. Bhaja caves in Maharashtra are the most ancient caves in Maharashtra. The approximate period which has been dated is around 250 BCE. If you look closely at the inner part, the roof of the cave, this is the Chaityagraha, is in wood structure. This wood, which was there around 2300 years ago, is still exists in this place. Ajanta caves. This is just to give an example how caves were excavated. This is where we walk in from this road and then we climb up to this mountain to visit the caves. This rock, friends, the entire rock was up to this place. This was totally covered. The artisans, they literally scrapped the mountains, and the design for excavating the cave was top to bottom and front to end. So the literally a stone was carved out. What the beauty is, how did the artisans know, or the artists, or the sculptures knew how deep they have to go in this particular mountain? I mean, this is a technology which we yet have not yet deciphered it. This is one of the initial caves which was excavated in Maharashtra. As you can see, these are the monk cells. The monks used to stay into this cell. This is known as a Vihara. Right? Had there been a stupa over here, it would have been known as a Chaitya Graha. Okay. So the monks used to stay in this place. As we know, there were 7 monk cells. So it means there were 7 to 14 monks staying in this complex, practicing the Dhamma. Let us see how these monks were staying inside. This is a monk cell, or what we call as a Bhikkhu Nivas Guraha. In this monk cell, you will see there is 2 seats or 2 beds which are carved in stone. The approximate size of this monk cell is 6 by 6 feet. That is 36 square feet. In this 36 square feet, there were 2 monks staying. One monk over here, the other monk over here. This was the place. The Buddha always believed that lust or greed is the biggest which inhibits your growth, your spiritual growth. And therefore, he advised the monks to have the least necessary things, only the basic necessities. Hence, the monks used to sleep over here, they used to sit over here. This was the space, just 6 by 6 square feet. Okay. It was only in whenever they have to move around. And just to give you a brief of this particular thing, the caves were always excavated a little far from the local population, that is a local village. So it was not neither very far, neither too near. The reason for this was the monks wanted to practice meditation, practice the Dhamma in silence. So they didn't want to stay very near to the local population so that it becomes a disturbance to their practices, to their Dhamma practices. So they used to stay a little bit away from the local population. At the same time, the monks had to go for their daily alms to the villages, to the town nearby. So it was also not very far off. Okay. So this is the place where the monks were used to stay. Let us now look into further about cave architecture and what exactly it represents and how does it form a basic for cultural heritage. Now, most of the caves, nearly all the caves in Maharashtra, that is the Buddhist caves, they depict the social life which the artisans have seen around. You can see the Buddha's principle of giving equal status to man and woman has been throughout the Buddhist cultural history. That is from the 6th century BCE to the 12th century. So this is a cave which was excavated by the Satavahans in Nasi. When you look at very closely, you will see the various animals which has been carved out. This shows the artist, they want to show to people that these were the animals which they had seen around them. So this is the beautiful facade that is the entrance of the cave. If you look closely at this particular slot and this thing, now the artist in those days, they had a very typical way of expressing in their art form, which they couldn't express in writing. So here in the caves, whenever you see a lion which has been rode by some person, the lion represents the royal family. The elephants represents the higher officials. Then we have the horses, and then we have someone riding on a cow, a bullock, or an ox. They represent the lay people. So the artist here wants to represent, or rather wants to depict, how many people were visiting the caves, who were the people who were helping the monks in these caves. So here he has shown a lion which represents the royal family, the kings. Here he has shown the elephants. It shows that the higher officials of the king were also very good donors and very good supporters of the monks of this cave. Now, here what you'll see is a woman who is riding a lion. It shows the royal princess or the royal queen. She herself has equal status with that of a king or the prince. Here you can see this is a lady which is riding an elephant. It shows that in those particular period of the Satavahanas, they had lady officers to look over lady administration or to look into the problems faced by the women. So they had specially recruited women officers. This thing was started by Emperor Ashoka for the first time when he recruited lady officers to look after the welfare of women of his kingdom. And this he has clearly mentioned in his inscriptions. Another important thing whenever you visit a Buddhist cave is what we call as the amalka. This is a thing which represents the fruit, what we normally call as amla. Now, aula is a fruit. If you really look into it, it shows a aula fruit which is totally encased in a square stone box. The beauty is this, the box is totally transparent. How beautiful the artist has carved, you can see from this point. Okay, it's a total square box and an amla fruit. That means the amla fruit is totally protected. It is given a lot of respect, and there is a reason behind it. And this structure on every column in every Buddhist cave you will find it. Let me give you the reason behind this. Ashoka was the first king who excavated the caves and donated it to the monks. When Ashoka, after he handed over his kingdom to his son and grandson and started living on his own pension, let us call it. So he made a lot of donations to the monks for the spread of the Dhamma. In the end, when he was on his deathbed, he was bedridden and he had only an amla fruit. He used to eat only an amla fruit every day. And at that time, as the story goes, monks visited him. As per the tradition, whenever a monk visits your place, you are supposed to donate them something, either food, either some money, either the chivaras, something you have to donate. Now, Ashoka at that particular time had no money. What he had with him was only an amla fruit. That is a Indian gooseberry. And that is the story goes that Ashoka offered this amla, the Indian gooseberry, to the monks, saying that he has only this thing to offer to the monks and they should accept it. as a respect to Ashoka for ensuring or rather initiating one of the best stone structures in India, and also remembering him for all the good things, for all the sacrifices, what he has done for the spread of Dhamma, the artist later on in all Buddhist caves carved out this Amalka or the Indian gooseberry on every pillar in Buddhist caves. It is a beautiful thing where you show your respects to the king who initiated this art in the Indian subcontinent. As I was telling you about each cave, it depicts the social life during the Buddhist cultural period. So here's a woman who's riding a horse. Here you can see a man. Of course, this has been broken later on. That means both enjoy equal status. They both are sort of what we can call it as leaders, or they can say they were some of the officials in the king's cabinet. Now, this is another beautiful thing which we see in one of the caves, that is a Buddhist caves. You will see a woman is riding an elephant. As I said, after the lion, it's a woman. So the woman of a very high-ranking official in the king's cabinet or in the king's ministry. Here she is riding an elephant. That means women were enjoying the official birth in the king's administrative system. Here also we see a woman is riding and she's raising her hands. She is as if respecting the people. So when she's going from along the road or riding along the city, she's just wishing the people. That means she is, of course, a very high-ranking official. Okay, this is what the artist wanted to depict it. Here is again a very beautiful depiction of a man and his wife. They are dancing quite merrily. Let me tell you one thing. Buddhist culture was the first culture which drew sculptures in stone of human figures, I mean, large human figures, which we can see later on. The decoration entrance, what is normally called as the facade, this is again a gift of Buddhist culture to India. The entire cave structure, what you see, the entrance, it represents the Bodhi leaf. As we all know, the Bodhi tree, where the Buddha got enlightenment, as a mark of respect to the tree, every Chaitya Graha in the Buddhist caves, they are carved as a leaf structure. You can see all these things over here. This is the Bodhi leaf structure. Okay, as a mark of respect to the Bodhi tree, this structure has been carved in most of the initial and the later on caves as well. Okay, so the beautiful, just imagine with just chisel and hammer, this entire thing was carved. And once you look at further deep into this cave structure, you will understand how beautifully the structure has been carved. Let me go to the next slide. Symbols. Before the Buddhist period, there was nothing called a symbol or logo, which was there in the Indian subcontinent. It is a Buddhist cultural period which gave symbol or logo as a mark of the text or the Dhamma what they follow. If you closely see this structure, you will see the Ratna symbols. The Ratna, what we normally say is the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. The Buddhist symbol is this. This is the Dhamma Chakra, and these are the 3 pointers, that is the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. This you will see, which is carved out in most of the Buddhist caves. So the Buddhist culture gave symbol or logo for the first time in this country. Before that, there was no representation of a symbol or a logo. Okay, this is very uniqueness. This is highly creativity of the Buddhist culture. Let us look for one more symbol. This is another symbol which is carved in stone. This is, of course, carved on the the Toran, the entrance of Sanchi Stupa. This is the Dhamma Chakra, and these are the three lions. There are actually four lions. The fourth lion is on the back side, and this is the lion which is carved down, which is now we can say the national emblem of our country. This is the Dhamma Chakra, which is very honorably put on our national flag. Both the structures, these logos, have been taken from the Buddhist culture. This is one of the earliest image of Emperor Ashoka, which was found in Sannati. As you can see, Ashoka was a person who also built Sanchi Stupa, and he has used symbols. This was the symbol of Ashoka, the four lions along with the Dhamma. The roaring lions represent the Sinhanath, because the Buddha was also called as the Shakya Sinha. So the roar of the lion means the roar of the Dhamma, and it should spread to all the four directions. That is what Ashoka meant by showing this particular symbol. So four lions in the four direction, and they carrying the Dhamma Chakra. Okay, this is the meaning of that symbol or the logo. Let us go into another unique aspects of the Buddhist caves. That is the entrance, what we call as the Toran. Now, having a designed entrance or an entrance with beautiful design is a hallmark of Buddhist cultural caves. This is represented in caves. This is the only cave which has an entrance, a beautifully designed entrance for a cave, for a vihara. It is from these Buddhist caves that the later on, all the temples in India, they started having a very designed entrance for their own premises. Okay, so the first creativity in designing the entrance, what we call as this is a toran or the facade, the credit goes to the Buddhist caves. Let us look at this entrance in a very close aspects, because in a Buddhist caves, every sculpture gives the artist wants to give you certain message, and they expect us to understand it. So when you see a Buddhist caves, just don't plainly see a Buddhist caves and just don't go only for your selfie or your photo shoots. I appeal to all of you that you should really observe the Buddhist cave whenever you visit it. Here on the entrance, you see a stupa. In the initial days of caves excavation, the Buddha was represented in a form of a stupa or a Dhamma chakra or a lion or a Bodhi tree or an empty throne. So here it is shown as a stupa. So this represents the Buddha. And here you have the lay people paying respect to the Buddha. Here you have the Dhamma chakra, and this side you have the Bodhi tree. All these are the symbols of Buddhism. Here you have the monks who are also respecting the Supa, that is the Buddha. And this is the beautiful carving. These are, of course, various panels over here, which maybe on the later stage I can explain it to you. And this entrance, this beautiful design entrance has become a hallmark of the Buddhist caves, which later on was copied by various temples and various other things. Even the normal household today, you have a beautiful decorated entrance. Okay, this was first started by the Buddhist caves. Now, Buddhist caves also represent a very precision and elaborate design. Just look at the structure. This is the Ellora caves in Maharashtra. Imagine carving out a three-story structure just by using a chisel and hammer, and just see the precision, just see the cuts, what they have done it. This is one single rock, what we call this as a monolithic rock. And these caves are carved. They are not placed stone upon stone. They are basically carved across. The stone is made hollow as per the structure. Okay. And this is a beautiful staircase. Can you see this window for ventilation? How beautiful it has been carved. Can you imagine it? Just let us look at this structure from the front side. This is how it looks, gentlemen. This is the three-story structure. This is the Buddhist cave. Just look at the precision, how sharp cuttings have been done, and that too purely with chisel and hammer. Let us go to the another cave. This is the inside floor of the cave, right? Let me take you to another structure. This is the Buddha image. And see this, how clearly it is made. It is as if it has been laser cut. But believe me, these are purely chisel and hammer cuts. We can see a lot of chisel marks in the initial cave excavation. These are the things. Now, here, like when you see these pillars, okay, every side of this pillar on the inside of the galley, as well as the thing, they have the same structure, the same width, the same thing. The entrance of this Buddhist cave, you have a pot and an octagonal pillar. Each side of the octagonal pillar is exact to the last millimeter. The diameter of this pot, there is hardly any difference. I have personally measured it and I could hardly find a difference of even half a millimeter in their sizes. So you can imagine, what technical abilities those artists, those sculptors had, and what beautiful thinking the Buddhist monks or the architects of those era, they had in shaping up these caves. This is another cave. This is the Chaitya Grove because it contains a stupa. This is the dome, the roof of the cave, that is the Chaitya Grove. This entire thing is stonework. The entire stone is excavated to create a structure. In the Bhaja caves, you have a wooden structure. In this, there is a stone which has been cut across, okay, to give it a sort of a round, a semi-round shape, semicircular shape, which is a hallmark of Chaitya Graha because it gives a top end of a stupa. Decorative panels is another one more gift from the Buddhist architecture. Now, this is between the two pillars, a simple wall was there, and they wanted to, rather than having it a plain wall, they wanted to show it a designful things. And therefore, they carved out square images in this wall. You will see the same decorative structures nowadays in corporate offices or even in our homes. Of course, rather than stone, it is now in polycarbonate, either transparent sheets or in milky white sheets. And you will see various designs across it. But this design was first initiated by the Buddhist caves in around 4th through 6th century in the current era. This is another decorative panel, a flower. How beautiful it is carved. This is purely in 3D, just with chisel and hammer, and you can see this entire thing. Enhancing the entrance of a cave is one of the hallmark of Buddhist caves. This is Buddhist cultural history. For at the entrance of the cave itself, they represent your entire societal stand. What exactly they want to represent, what they do, they want to depict it across. And here they have shown a man and a woman, that is a husband and wife, in their various poses across. It's a dancing pose, and here also you can see it below. And this is the entrance to the cave. So the image of the society is represented at the starting of this cave. It's a decorative panel. So it was a Buddhist idea to create a lot of decorative things to make it more attractive so that people think that these structures are their own structure. Oh, sorry. Now, this slide has been shown just to make you understand how the rock was excavated from a beautiful cave. This rock came up to this part. This was the joining part. And from this joining part, you can imagine how the rock was cut to create this marvelous structure, a design in stone. Now, this is the same stone here, what we see, whereas here is a design which has been excavated. Okay. Now, Buddhist caves were the first to create large-scale human images. Before the Buddhist caves, there were no images of human beings carved in stone. Okay. Now, this Buddha image is approximately 12 feet in height, and the height of this Bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara and Padmapani, around 10.5 feet. They have been totally carved in one single stone inside a cave. So, large scale human images is another hallmark of Buddhist caves, which I consider it as a gift to Indian culture. This is another cave, Buddhist caves, and you can see how many Buddhas have been carved across in a single rock across over here. This is a beautiful, intricate sculpture carved out in the Aurangabad caves. Now, this is Avalokiteshvara with the Ashtabhaya Shilpa, and here you have the Buddha and the saint. Now, during those period, people had a lot of fears, and this was represented in sculpture. Now, this was the sculpture what we call as Ashtabhaya Shilpa. The people were afraid of fire. So here the fire is being shown. People were afraid of thieves. So it has been shown. People were afraid of murderers. People were afraid of water. People were afraid of oceans, going into the oceans. People were afraid of wind. People were afraid of robbers or maybe dacoits, something. So this has been shown depicted across it and how they pay homage to Avalokiteshvara. So this is a beautiful carved design in Aurangabad caves, which is behind Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University. Paintings, human paintings was the first gift of Buddhist culture to the Indian subcontinent. Before the Buddha's caves, before these paintings, there were no paintings available in India. The actual paintings in human figures showing emotions on face was started by the Buddhist caves around 4th century, that is the current era. Whatever paintings we see before this period, we see only the cave paintings which we see in the present state of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, but large scale human paintings with emotions can be seen only with the Buddhist caves in the 4th to 5th century. It is only from this period that paintings really started in India. So the credit of introducing human faces with emotions as paintings goes to the Buddhist caves. This is a beautiful painting of Ajanta caves, and I'm sure you are aware of the paintings, the Jatakas, which has been very elaborately painted across. You can see every image. Now this is a female image. Every female has a different emotion on her face. Just look at her eyes and the face. Just look at her eyes and face. Every face is different. They show different emotions based on the Jataka story over here. So paintings was the initiative taken during the Buddhist culture period. Inscriptions on stones. The Buddhist caves across India will have a lot of inscriptions. The first inscription was done in India by Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. He was the first person to carve out loud messages on stone slabs or on stone columns. Before Ashoka's period, there is no documentation of any writing history. And let me repeat it again. People are on a very wrong notion that Ramayana and Mahabharata or any other text is the oldest written text in India. It is absolutely wrong. The earliest copy of Ramayana or Mahabharata dates to nearly 12th to 14th century current era. Whereas the first inscription of stone in India is there of Emperor Ashoka in the 3rd century BCE. The Buddhist caves, taking inspiration from Emperor Ashoka, started inscribing on stone the entire history. Now, in various caves, you will see the inscription which shows the kings who have donated the caves, the king, what is the reason for donating the caves? Either he has won over the other king, therefore he has donated these caves, or out of respect to the Buddhist monks, he has donated the caves. In fact, these inscriptions, they carry a lot of information on the political scenario, on the religious scenario, and the financial scenario of India in that period. For example, Ashoka's inscriptions talk about how large his kingdom was there, which were the other kingdoms which were near his neighboring countries. He mentions the name of the kings, he mentions the name of their kingdom. He also mentions the welfare action what he has taken for his subjects. He also mentions how many days he was on tour. What exactly was the thing? Why did he accept the Dhamma? What he did post accepting the Dhamma? Everything is written down on inscriptions. And that is why India's history or India's political history one can understand by reading Ashoka's inscription. That is from the 3rd century BC. Later on, from the Buddhist caves, we come to know the chronology of the various kings in that particular part, that particular region. We also understand what the king had done, how large his kingdom was there. We also come to know from the inscription who have donated these caves and what for the reason. For example, various inscriptions talk about a merchant donating a cave for the love of his wife and children. Another thing talks about a king. Just because he has become happy, he has donated the cave. Another inscription states that a lay person, and in a normal parlance, is a fisherman. Just out of love for the monks, he has donated the cave. In fact, one inscription talks about a female monk people have donated her a huge sum of money, and out of respect for her teacher, she has excavated this cave and donated to the monks. Such beautiful history we come to know from it. So inscriptions were first started by the Buddhist period in the Buddhist caves. And this is what we see in front of us. This is in the Kaneri, this is in the Nasik caves. We'll see these inscriptions. There's an entire history. It talks about it. Who has donated? The king's daughter has donated this cave in for the love of or for the respect of the monks, right? So inscriptions of stone, that is writing in stone, is again a hallmark of Buddhist culture, which is represented in the Buddhist caves. Viharas. There were large viharas which were excavated in the caves. Now, this vihara typically, you can see these are the monk cells. The monks used to stay in this place. Okay, and this was a vihara. This had become a classroom for the monks. If you remember, I told you in the initial part of this lecture that it was during the monsoon season that the monks stayed in these caves. So wherever a senior monk was there who was staying in this cave, and the junior monks, when they came visiting to this village, they stayed in this cave. So there were an exchange of ideas, and the senior monks started teaching the younger monks. Over a period of time, these caves turned out to be what in the local language, or what is in the present language, we'll call it as schools and colleges. Later on, these viharas became monasteries where young monks, people who accepted Buddhism and became monks, for them, these viharas became the teaching grounds. They were taught by the senior monks, that is the Thera or the Mahatheras. These viharas, later on, gentlemen, from 4th century onwards, became large-scale university. And it would be surprising to most of you that this structure, this is of Nalanda University. This Nalanda University was the world's first university, and students from various parts of the world came to study over here. Nalanda university, incidentally, was known as Nalanda Mahavihara because the viharas were converted into colleges and the universities. So, the Buddhist culture gave the first college and the first world university to the world. This university was built in 4th century current era. Okay, it is around 1600 years back. Okay, and from Nalanda, then various other universities were started in India and of course in abroad. Okay, so the Buddhist culture, when you see, they have given a lot of things. The further things when we read, whether it is from philosophical point of view or whether it is from psychological point of view, whether it is from science, logical and rational thinking was a hallmark of the Buddha's teaching. And that is the reason why his disciples later on went on to introduce innovative systems, innovative subjects in various fields. Right? The Buddha's teachings have shaped the culture of India as well as all the neighboring countries. Then, small example here would be when Ashoka wrote the inscription, what is presently called as the Dhamma Lipi. In the initial days, it was called as Brahmi Lipi. Even today, it has been called. In the year 2014, I made a research and I found out that the original name of this script in which Ashoka had written his inscription was not Brahmi, but it was Dhammalipi. Because as per Ashoka's inscription, the first line goes, Iyam Dhammalipi Devanang Priyena Piyadasina Raya Likya Peti. So, Iyam Dhammalipi, various historians have translated into religious teachings, religious orders, and nothing, but they are not religious orders. The Ashoka says that it is in this Dhammalipi, I am writing this particular teachings or I am writing this moral. Ashoka's teachings are not religious teachings, they are moral teachings. So, the Buddhist culture is expressed in various ways. As I've shown you, caves is one part. Cave space plays a very important role in represent Buddhist culture, and this culture is passed down through various generations. The first cave was excavated around 3rd century BC. The last cave was excavated in 6th century CE, and of course the later additions went on to be made up to 10th century CE. So caves played an important role in passing on the Buddhist culture, passing on the Buddha's teaching. Every cave structure, every sculpture in the cave represents the Buddha's teaching. Of course, time would be very short if at all we have to explain each and every structure. Howsoever, I would appeal to all of you that whenever you visit your family back home in India, please make it a point that you don't only visit your family and your friends, but you visit a nearby cave which is near your place, because that is the only place when you will be able to see the Buddhist caves, and it is the only time where you can show your children what exactly Buddhist caves or Buddhist culture represents. So, thank you for listening to this talk. It was wonderful sharing my thoughts with all of you. Thank you so much. Jai Bhim.
Thank you so much, Professor Bhosekar, for sharing your insights. If anyone from the audience has any questions for Professor Bhosekar, please raise your hands. I can see Mahendra has raised a hand, so please go ahead and ask your question.
Jai and Namo Buddhaya. Atul sir, very informative session, very well presented.
Yeah,
And you're
thank you.
absolutely right. We all need to, we cannot agree enough that we all need to visit our places of heritage to uh, truly understand our origins and history. Uh, I have seen in many of our caves in Maharashtra, I have seen um, outside of the caves, I have seen some places that there is a sculpture similar to that of today's so-called Ganapati as a deity. Now, do we know by any chance what is the relevance of that? Uh, was
In
that
the
added
initial,
later on?
yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. So, initially in my lecture, I did brief about how many caves have been really encroached upon. So, most of the structures which have been carved later on, they are probably in the 17th to 18th century. Now, there's been an encroachment, especially temples have been erected. Like you said about Ganpati being put across in Lenadri caves, it is called as Lenadri caves. And these caves basically were known by a different name, which we have really checked across it. So, this Ganpati idol was put during the Peshwa period and it still continued. If you closely observe it, uh, this Ganpati image is made up of what we uh, call it as Shendur, and it is applied on the monk cell wall. Okay, we have practically explained it across during most of my workshops, which I have done at this scale. So it's clearly an encroachment, and we are fighting against this encroachment. We have been doing a lot of things from the legal point of view. We have filed cases and we have approached the government, and we have also taken this matter up to the ASI. And let us see how better we do. At least one thing has been happening. From the last 20, 25 years, when we started working on this caves, protecting the caves, creating awareness amongst the people, there have been hardly any encroachment. Whatever the encroachment, what you see today is probably 30 years old. In the last 25 to 27 years, there haven't been any encroachment as such in any of the Buddhist caves. Because I feel very happy to inform you that we have around more than 400 to 450 people who are actively working on Buddhist caves in Maharashtra. And this would, once again, and I'll do an appeal that whenever you visit back home, please make it a point to visit a Buddhist cave near your place. And I would be very happy to ask one of my students to guide you across the entire cave complex. Okay. We have been conducting workshops for the last 20 years, and these workshops are free of cost. We don't charge anything to any people. Our basic aim is only to create an awareness of the Buddhist caves, the Buddhist heritage, the Buddhist culture, and create more number of people in this movement. Okay. So answering your question in brief is basically it is that this encroachment is there of Ganpati. Ganpati was never put from the initial part of the cave structure. It was later, it was done as an encroachment. Yes. Thank you.
Uh, does anyone else in the audience have any questions for Professor? Please raise your hands. Yeah, I can see Mr. Vivek has a question. Please go forward and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Bhoskar ji, for joining the call. And it's really interesting to listen the Buddhist heritage, and particularly in this the concept of caves. I was visiting India in 2023, and I have visited the caves in Gandharpal, which is in Mahad, and also the caves in Ajanta and Ellora. As well as in the past, I visited Pachmadi caves. At that time,
Okay.
I did not have any understanding about these caves at all, and the question that I have, in many places, any of all these places I have visited where it was introduced to us as a Pandavlinis,
Yeah.
and the concept which has, later on found out, uh, are these Pandavas like, been to these places, for so many, and, and as you are saying, uh,
Yeah.
the evidence of these things doesn't exist when you're
Yeah.
talking about the BCE or CE. So I think it is just the wow, how our educational system have not taken a note, when this such a scientific concept has given to us, and this exists in Indian system. What is the take that you are saying, this Pandavulini is really, does it mean anything to the current time when?
Yeah, I had done a research on this particular name, and it has been published, and it has been accepted. The thing is, we have to first of all, when we have to do a sort of a study about these particular names, we need to also look into the context about the Pali Tripitakas, what exactly it is mean. For example, most of these caves, as you said, even the Nasik caves was known as Pandav caves. Even today also it has been known by most of the people as same thing. Now, how did this name came as Pandav caves? In Pali, there's a word called as Pandu. Now, this Pandu word means yellow color or light yellow color, ochre color. Now, you have to understand this context. When the monks were staying in these caves, the local villagers were not knowing to call them as Bhikkhu. Bhikkhu is a name, a Pali word. To call them as by the name Bhikkhu. So, whenever anybody used to ask them who is staying in these caves, the answer used to be Pandu Vastradhari, means people who were wearing yellow clothes. Now, this Pandu Vastradhari Leni became a very big sentence. So it was shortened and it was called as Pandu Leni. Later on, and I did a research on it, around 1820, you have one of the British correspondence regarding this Nasik caves, where it is named as Pandu caves. That means from Pandu Leni, it became Pandu Leni. And from Pandu Leni, in 1910, it became Pandav Leni. So maybe some of the officers who would have asked the locals, and the locals said Pandav. Once it started been calling, because this is just a misrepresentation of the word, what in Marathi or Hindi would say apabhransh. So when it became Pandav Leni, people started coinciding, or rather connecting it with the story of the Pandavas. And then the people made a story about how Pandavas visited this thing, and one night then Bhima with his Gada, he started carving out these caves, and all the statues, the images of our bodhisattvas, they are naming it as Pandava images, even in the Nasik caves. So when I represented this paper, then I started asking them if, as far as the text goes, the Pandavas had a different guru, and we know the Pandavas' guru was Sri Krishna. I said, if Pandavas were believing in the Sri Krishna, how can they carve out image of the Buddha? Because they should carve out the image of their guru, na? So there is only two probabilities. One, the Pandavas were Buddhist and therefore they carved out the image of their guru, that is the Buddha. Or the second probability is that the Pandavas never carved out these caves, Pandavas never came over here, and these caves have been carved by artists, donated by kings to the Buddhist monks, because that is evident from the inscriptions which is being seen in the Buddhist caves. And inscriptions, as per archaeological standards, is the parameter to understand the real documentation or the real history of the cave or that particular place. So Pandav caves is a misnomer, and we need to create awareness wherever it is possible. We have found out various names of the caves in Maharashtra and converted it to their original names also. Most of our people in their workshop, they start talking about it as the original name of the cave. Okay, and this we have probably we have been successful across percolating it to each and every person visiting our workshops. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for detailed information, and this really helps out to understand. Okay, thank you. Pranuti, over to you.
Yeah. Next, I had seen Mr. Sandeep Lakshman had raised his hand earlier. So, Mr. Sandeep, please go ahead and ask the question.
me unmute him. Can you, Sandeep, can you raise your hand again? Yeah, raise your hand. Sandeep, raise your hand. Okay, just so I can unmute you. Okay, now you can unmute yourself now. Go ahead. I sent you the message. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Hello, am I audible? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sir, sir, I'm calling, I'm speaking from Nagpur. Actually, sir, in
Okay.
fact, a Dhamma activist since a couple of years. I was in
Okay.
Nashik, sir, okay, for 1 year. And I had the opportunity to visit this so-called, that is renamed Pandavleni. In fact, now they have also gone further to call it as Phadke
Tri
Leni.
Rashmi Buddhali.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
please,
No,
sorry.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I mean, now these, these fascist people have also gone some forward to name it as from Pandavleni or Panduleni. Earlier it was a Triyashmi Leni to Phadke Leni, sir. Okay. And now across Maharashtra, this caves conservation movement has taken, quite flourishing at a quite at a greater speed. But sir, more is needed to be done for this conservation of caves across India, sir. So please give your sense on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, the last line was not audible. What was it? Yeah. Any questions?
Uh, other state.
No, I
Am
didn't
I
get
audible,
you.
sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. No, what was the question?
Second, sir.
What was the question, please?
Sir, how this this adulteration of caves can be
Hmm.
separated and renamed as the original or their earlier named Buddhist caves, and how this movement can be flourished or can be spread across India.
Okay, fine. See, first of all, renaming cannot be done at such a fast pace, neither the ASI nor anyone. Whatever names have been given so far, we can only fight for it because if at all there is a renaming to be done or bringing the or knowing the cave with the original name, you require a bill to be passed at the Lok Sabha. So I believe it would be quite a difficult task looking into the present political scenario in India. At the most, what we can do is we can start renaming these caves for their original names and making it more popular among the masses. So once the masses start to do it across, okay, each and every person will have to take a notice. Let me give you an example of Nasik caves. Nasik caves were known as Pandavleni. Even today, most of them call it as Pandavleni. We started a movement in Nasik around 20 years back, and all the Nasikites, when we proposed and when we decided to call it as, everyone started calling it as Tri Rashmi Buddhaleni. You won't believe, even the newspapers, even the news channel, they have started talking it as Tri Rashmi Leni. So it is a mass effect. The more people talk it in once it becomes a local lingo, a local name for the caves, people do not talk it as the name which has been imposed upon. They go by the popular's name, whatever the population talks about it. You will see all the newspaper. There is hardly any newspaper in Nasik who will say it is as Pandavleni. They will mention it as Tri Rashmi Buddhalini in all their notings, in all their reportings and everything across, even the local channels. So I believe that we need to force it upon, we need to make it more popular. Like in all our workshops, we do it the same thing. We start calling the cave not by the ASI name, but we call it by the name which has been mentioned in the inscriptions, which is the official name across. Okay. And then, like, for example, in Junnar Caves, the Manmodi Caves, it is not Manmodi Caves, it is Manmukuda Caves as per the inscription over there. We started calling as Manmukuda Caves. So every cave, we have started giving it their original name. Like, for example, Kaneri Caves. Kaneri is the mountain, but the main mountain name is Kannasili Caves. So it should be known as Kannasili Caves. In Nasik Caves, why the name Trirashmi came? Because it is mentioned across over there. In Trirashmi, like the name has been given a Tiranu Pabbate. So Tiranu stands for Trirashmi. Tiranu is a name in Pali Prakrit language. When you make it into a Marathi lingo or the Sanskrit, it becomes Trirashmi Caves. So in Marathi, we'd say it is Trirashmi Caves. When we talk about in Pali or Prakrit, we say Tiranu. Okay, that is how it is mentioned. So I believe the people have to take it as a movement and start calling it by the original name.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Jagesh Somkuvar, can you please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening and Jai Bhim, everybody. There is a small question to Professor Bhoskar ji. I recently visited Shirpur in Chhattisgarh, and
Okay.
I have seen there. It's not caves, but Vihara. I mean, and
Yeah.
many museum kind of
Hmm.
things there. And Bante Suresh Sasaiji has done a lot of
Yeah.
excavation work there. So,
Hmm.
can you throw some light on this actually?
No, basically
Shirpur.
these were the yeah. Uh,
uh,
no, these were the these are basically the structures which was
Ji.
erected. Okay. And you will see a lot of brickwork over there. And these represent the viharas, the Buddhist viharas. And there have been a lot of excavation which has been carried earlier, not in the present time, but there the people over there, most of the archaeologists and the activists over there, they are forcing the ASI to conduct a massive excavation over there. As per the dating which it goes, some are found to be very early. Probably the dating goes as per the structure of the brick and other things. It is probably first century BC to rather second century CE, and some are as late as the fifth century current era also. So, but documentation work has been done, not to the fullest sense, but whatever has been available at present over there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Next, we have Dr. Alka Dhoke. Can you please go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question? Thank you.
Actually, I don't have a question, but I wanted to tell sir that this is second time we heard the beautiful talk of sir. First time sir came to Jetwan Buddha Vihara, sir,
Okay.
in Thane.
Thane. Yes.
Yeah, I think 6 months back.
No.
Buddha Jayanti program.
Okay.
Thane.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, almost 2.5 hours lecture was delivered by you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Anil Doke. I was also
Right.
a participant in that your lecture at Thane. Thank you enormously for enlightening us on the historical and cultural importance of the Buddhist caves. And my question is, we basically mentioned about the about the Ashoka and his work of inscription and spreading the Buddha. His inscription on the various pillars and stones and various artifacts. Is there were there any other kings like there were other kings also like Kanishka, Harshvardhan, or other kings do we have any record of their inscription
Inscriptions.
of
Yeah.
this?
Absolutely. In fact, Ashoka started inscribing on stone, and his legacy was followed by the later on kings. So we have inscriptions of the Kushanas, we have an inscription of the Guptas, we have an inscription of the Chola kings, so right up to Satavahanas, the Kshatrapas. So all these inscriptions are seen across over there and every part of the country. But the initial inscription, the first stone inscription was started by Ashoka in 3rd century BC. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Next,
any other question?
can I request Sunita Shambharkar to please unmute yourself and ask your question? Thank you.
This is Manoj Shambarkar, Sunita's husband. Thank you very much, sir, and thanks, Anna, for inviting Professor Bhoskar for a very informative talk. One question I had is that we visited Karla and Bhaje caves just near Navara, and we realized that there is no one, not a single person to guide, and there are security guards who doesn't have much of a knowledge about it. They talk whatever they know about. So is there a way we can have someone guide them? A lot of foreigners, they visit there and they get incorrect information about the caves. So is there a way we can have some people at least on the weekends available, maybe paid or something, and we can support?
Yeah. In fact, I had in my talks I had said that at present we have nearly 400 people, students who have been working on various caves in Maharashtra, and we conduct workshops every Sunday. So in case if you are coming to India and you plan to visit any of these cave complexes in Maharashtra, you can just give me a call and I'll arrange one of my students to guide you across to that cave. Okay? We would be very happy to guide you and explain all the structures, the intricate carvings, including the inscriptions. And we have so many people. And of course, during the workshops, we have a general mass of around 200 to 250 people comprising of families who visit these caves. So in case if you're in India and there happens to be any workshop in any of the cave complexes, I would just pass on that information to you. Or if you are visiting any specific cave near your place, I can ask one of my students to join you and guide you across. Okay, that definitely we can do.
No, thank you for that. Definitely we will. But at the same
Yeah.
time, my point was around that a lot of foreigners they visit. I'm not sure
Yeah.
specific days they do. So they carry the wrong information.
Wrong
with them.
information.
If you have
Yeah.
anyone stationed there, if not, at least we can have some kind of booklet just which gives some authentic information about those caves. I think that will be
Yeah.
helpful if it is in the English language.
Absolutely.
I cannot see those there yet.
Yeah, we have. In fact, for example, in Nasik caves, I have written a book which is both in Marathi and English. Called by Marathi, it is called as uh, Nashik Trirashmi Buddha Leni, whereas in English it is called as Trirashmi Caves, Nasik Trirashmi Caves. So it's a wonderful book, and I plan to introduce books for every cave complex. Coming to your question about the various guides or any of these things, there are people across, but quite possibly like they are not stationed in that particular place. The reason is because ASI doesn't approve any of those people over there, and they would be probably struggling. For example, in Karla Caves, we always have clash with the local people who have encroached the cave complex. So whenever we go across and start doing a workshop, it is usually we face a lot of resistance from those people across who have encroached and created a temple over there. Many a times it is the police who have been called across in such places. So wherever it is a matter of, I would say, where people are literally opposing our views over there, or probably they are in very large number, and a single person, because most of my students, when they were working as guides or they were working as, I would say, in this movement, they are still working. So they faced even death threats. People have even rushed them with lathi kathis. So we have also filed a police FIR against those miscreants. But still, we make it a point that no one should directly go alone over there. Either they go into a sort of a mobs with around 8 to 10 people together. And if they are going only for as a guide, so they would be available nearby, because these are the students who are staying nearby the cave complex. They don't travel all the way across. So if you are, for example, if you are coming to Karle Bhaje, I'll have one of my students who is placed very near over there, nearby. If you are going to bed, say, I have one person. If you are going to any of these caves near Karjat, so we have people from Karjat. You are going to Nasik, we have people from Nasik. So they will come and guide you across. As far as having a total guide across over there, most of the times it becomes very difficult, because a person who has to devote his entire 1 month over there or more than that, if at all he doesn't get that much amount of income, then it becomes very difficult. We have people who are working, and plus, as an part of interest, they're working in this cave movement. They work for cave restoration, for the for cave protection, and so many other things. Since it's a movement, they devote their time on whenever they have their holidays and Sundays, something that way. Okay. So we in fact, we are trying across that people should come forward and work as guides over there. But in the phase where we don't get much of the income to the students, then it becomes a little bit difficult across. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Any further questions?
We do have 3 to 4 more questions if you have time, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, Mr. Umesh Saroj, I request you to please unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Saab, and thanks a lot for very insightful this information and this session. A lot of the queries that was in my mind has been addressed by you. The main question that is troubling me is that how we should make it it as a mass movement to popularize these caves and make our people to visit more and more and be familiar with the culture and with the insight that has been carved in these caves.
Okay. The basic thing, like you said, it is to create more awareness amongst the people, uh, write more articles, and involve people. Like when we do our workshops, we invite not the history students or not historians, we invite the lay people. And right from day one, that is from the last 25, 27 years, I have been inviting not a single person. I say that you come with your family. If you have even a small child of, say, around 1 year or 2 year old, bring him in. If you have a person, an old parent at home, but who is able to climb the steps, bring him across over there so that we can understand. Each and every person can understand. And of course, my students and even including me, we explain the cave in a layman's language so everybody understands. Today, I feel very happy when my students or even of the any of the participants in the workshop, they very easily talk about the words which have been expressed by archaeologists and historians. Like they talk about the facade, they talk about the column, they talk about the inner sanctum part, they talk about the pillars, that read the inscriptions much more easy. To make reading of inscription easy, we have made it our goal, and which we have been containing right from the last 10 years. We have been teaching Ashoka's Dhamma Lipi free of cost to everyone whosoever wants to learn it. Those classes are going offline as well as they are going online basis. And today I'm very proud to say that we have more than 10,000 people who are well versed in Ashoka's inscription. We have lay people who come and they can easily read the inscriptions which are there on seen on the caves. Okay, so it is only with a mass movement you can do all these things. Of course, you need a dedicated team who can spend their time, their energy, and their knowledge and share it across with all of them. Okay, and before I go to another part, let me brief you about. I would like to see that even our people abroad, the present issue which is going on about this Mahabodhi Mahavihara, which I am sure each one would be aware of. I want even our international people to be a part of this movement. As a part of this movement, we have done one initial things. I don't know whether this has been able to read or not. This is a book on Mahabodhi Mahavihara. It's a small booklet in English. I had written this book in Marathi, Hindi, and English as well. And as a part of creating awareness about this issue, because this booklet talks about right from the day it was first erected by Emperor Ashoka till the present day struggle. And this is entirely a historical fact. This was written in Marathi, which was spread, and then the North Indian people, they wanted to read it more. So we brought an Hindi edition. Now the international community wants to read it, so we have brought out an English copy. Recently, this booklet has been taken by the Australian group of Indians, Ambedkarites Indian, and they have distributed it to various parts in Australia. So if Anna also thinks about it, we can also think it, so we can share it amongst Ambedkarite Indians in USA, as well as to all those people, your friends, your colleagues, where you can make them aware of this issue, because this is the most important issue. Because for the last 132 years, a fight for justice has been going on. This fight is unequal in its nature because there is no other fight, there is no other struggle which is going on in the world that one single place of one religion is demanding that that religious place be its own place. And this struggle is going on in a legal way for the last 132 years. We need to understand at a more deeper level. As Ambedkarite Buddhist, it is our duty that when we talk ourselves as Buddhist, as Ambedkarite Buddhist, we have to follow what Dr. Ambedkar stood for, what Dr. Ambedkar had vision, what vision he had. So if at all he has a vision of being a Buddhist, we need to fight for each and everything which represents Buddhism and Buddhist concepts. I believe Anna has to be a part of the struggle, the Mahabodhi Mahavihara which we are going on in India. Okay? Just an appeal to all of you. Thank you.
So just I wanted to add a few points to your conversation. As we are aware, in USA and throughout the world, the movement has begun in USA as well. You know, a lot of Ambedkarite Buddhist, not only the Ambedkarite Indian Buddhist, but also the international community, like the community from Sri Lanka, community from Bangladesh, Vietnam, and all other nations who believe in the Buddhist principles. They have come across on, they have protested. You know, they are requesting this Buddhist place to be, you know, hand over to the Buddhist community itself. And so I think the movement is going on, and there are a lot of noises are made in the USA as well. Even the visits are done to the White House. The congressional, like the Senate and the House in America as well. So this is going on here as well. So we are with that. The movement in India, and we are very empathetic to the cause that we see in front of our own eyes. In the current time, which is really telling us, we should be, joining together and walk together to free this Vihara. And the second thing I wanted to ask about is your book for sale, or it is just to informative actions where we can add your link to the Ana Vihara Ana website as well?
Yeah, this is for sale.
Sale.
And though it is for a regular sale, for example, in Australia, they purchase the entire lot. As you know, the minimum printing quantity is 1,000 quantities, and they have purchased the entire lot. And of course, they have received it with all the discounts. And this is the basic price, whatever it is, because since they are giving it free of cost, distributing it free of cost to the various people across in Australia, and I thought it as again a donation from my part. So I have not added the author's royalty. We have not added the publisher's commission cost. We have not added any of the distribution cost. Whatever the printer's cost is there, it has been simply, though, I mean, there were people who were visiting from Australia. So they carried few lots along with them to be distributed. And as people keep on coming from there, they will be carrying it across with them.
Okay, so
So
we can talk about this issue,
yeah,
this on this
absolutely.
topic after
Later on,
time,
yeah.
and definitely something which can Anna be the participatory
Yeah.
participatory in this process. I think
Yeah.
we'll be glad to do that. Pranita,
Sure.
back to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Mahendra. Can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Hello, sir. Very informative again.
Thank you.
At many of these caves, we have seen there is an arrangement for rainwater harvesting, where the water tanks get filled up all by just by the design, and the design is
Yeah.
so interesting. Is that okay? If one tank get filled, then it overflows into the another tank, and it goes on up to 3 tanks. That's what we have seen. So
Yeah.
these caves were designed very scientifically for the best light arrangement, as well as even retaining and conserving natural resources, as well as even sanitation as well. So if you pour water in some of these caves for washing, I think the water will naturally flow out of it. The ground has been kind of designed in that way. That's very interesting. I have seen a human figure in many of these caves. Either obviously, in all they all are holding dhammachakra in one hand, and in another hand, I have seen a cobra with 5 heads, either held in the other hand or guarding this particular human figure. What is the significance of that?
Okay. Well, as you said about the Dwarpalas or the doorkeepers, and they were basically like they were holding a flower bouquet in their hand. Now, this is very typical about Buddhist caves. Normally, doorkeepers will be either having a sword in their hand or maybe a short spear in their hand. Okay, because they are supposed to protect it. But in the Buddhist case, you will find a doorkeeper with a flower bouquet in his hand. It is as if he is welcoming people to come and look into the session of what are the talks, the Dhamma talks, which is going on. I mean, exactly in the line of how the Buddha said, Ehi Pasiko, come and see. So this is there. You mentioned about on one hand holding a Naga or maybe a Naga sculpture around that place across. Now, one thing we have to understand is the Naga and the image of a Nag, that is the snake, or image of some different kind, maybe a shell or maybe a drum or something. In the earlier days, these were the totems of the local kings. So, in the sculpture, in the Buddhist culture, when you see a Nag, or even the Buddhist literature talks about Muchalinda Naga, and people depict it as the snake came with his hood and protected the Buddha, it's a wrong information. It is a Naga king. Naga king, the reason is because they had the totem of a snake, of a cobra. That is a snake, that Naga. So, because their totem, that is their symbol was Naga, they were called as the Naga kings. And these Naga kings were the first people to, in fact, when Buddha was meditating, before he became the Buddha, these were the people who supported him for his good cause. And when he became the Buddha, the Buddha had a lot of affection towards the Naga people. And Nagas were the first people who got converted to Buddhism. They had beautiful, there were 5 Naga princes. Like you have the Kashmir part, you have Anantnag. Now, Anantnag is a place because it belonged to that Nag dominion, the Nag prince across over there. Similarly, we have Nagpur. It was dominated by people who believed in the Naga kings and who had their faith in Naga kings. Nag was their totem. So these are the various kings who were in those period times. And as a mark of respect, because they supported the Buddha, they supported the Sangha in a most massive way, either by protection, either by donating or spreading of the Dhamma. As a mark of respect, you will have this Naga sculpture in most of the caves. As I said, the sculpture in those days, they wanted to send a lot of message, but they could send a message only through their sculpture, only through the carvings. We need to understand this sculpture. As I said, every Buddhist cave, every pillar design, every capital design, every facade design carries a lot of message. We need to understand it and interpret it as per the Buddhist tradition, as seen in the Pali Tripitaka. Most of the historians and archaeologists have not deciphered the Buddhist cave as per the Pali Tripitaka. And that is why they have been able to give very wrong information of various designs of various sculpture in the Buddhist caves. Right?
Got it, got it. That makes sense.
I hope I have answered your query.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have also seen these Naga sculptures and even Dhammachakra on some of the forts in Maharashtra.
Yeah.
Not sure that when those
Yeah,
forts were
it shows. See, these are all the symbols. In
Yes.
my topic, I had talked about only 1 or 2 symbols, but there are a lot of symbols. They represent Buddhist traditions, right? Whether it is a Dhamma Chakra, whether it is a lion, that is the 4 lions, whether it is the Bodhi tree, whether it is an empty throne. These were all the symbols which were used before or rather during the Theravadin period. Post-Theravadin, that is after 5th century, when Buddha was started depicting in a human form, in a human image, that is be called as the Mahayana, post-Theravadin period, then all these sculptures started coming in. But before that, that is up to the 5th century, current era, that is from 3rd century BC to 4th century CE, the Buddha was represented in these various forms. His teachings was represented only in a mnemonic or the symbol form. Okay, that is why I said that's giving rise to a symbol, a logo, or a mnemonic is a gift of Buddhist culture to India and all the neighboring countries.
Got it, makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Just around Mumbai itself, there are some 10, 12 caves, and it seems like that most of these caves all over the India or outside as well, they were prominently placed at the trade routes wherever the traveling was happening, and most of them were kind of like the Nani Ghat in Maharashtra, Tambaldari, you name it, or Afghani Silk Route or something like that. Most of these caves have been at the prominent place, so must have been kind of supported and celebrated by kind of merchants and kind of traveling people along with the local population.
Yeah, absolutely. Traders, the merchants had supported, and that is why it was on trade routes. It's a different story. The reason behind its trade route was because it was a symbiotic relation. The monks took help of the monks helped the merchants with their goods, with keeping of their money and so many other things. And the merchant in turn helped the monks by giving donations, by excavating caves. So it was a symbiotic relationship. And I have written an entire chapter. And if at all we have to go into these things, probably it would be one more lecture across. Okay. So maybe some other time we can delve on this particular topic. But yes, merchants and monks, they were always in a symbiotic relationship. And that is why you will find a lot of the caves on the trade routes, merely because from the security point of view, from the helping nature of the monks, and of course, by the merchants as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next, we will have a question from Mr. Charudatta Masde. Can you please go ahead and ask your question?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello sir, Jai Bhim, how are you?
जय भीम. Good day.
Okay.
कसा आहेस? मजेत?
एकदम मजेत sir.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, thank you very much for your insightful talk. I remember the day one from our signing campaign that we had in
Yeah.
India 20 years back, and I'm happy. I just wanted to tell everyone, like, it's not you are not a professor, but you have your own business and you manage everything. So that's a big thing as a people like me who has a business as well as who has strong devotion and affection toward the culture. So we learn a lot from you, sir.
Yeah.
I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
thank you.
Hmm.
I just wanted to ask, like, do we have, like, I am always curious about learning on the walls of these caves. Is there any app we can develop, where, like, just by looking or scanning that code, can we able to translate something like that? Because I know it's not very easy, but people are doing it. So is there any movement in that regard that is going on?
You mean to say only for inscriptions or
Yeah.
for the entire cave information?
Yeah, inscription, like, because people just
Yeah.
go and read it. Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, these inscriptions have been decoded. They have been deciphered by various historians, and they have done a good job at it. One can easily find out from the textbook or from the net or from the various articles. But what you say is quite a good suggestion, and I think it would be a very good help to everyone if at all such an app has been designed and can be worked out. We had one of my friend who was a very senior police officer at the rank of a DG police in another state. And he was quite interested in developing this thing along with his son and his son's friend. So, of course, they were doing it in a different way altogether from Ashoka's inscription. But like Sharudat, you said, it's quite a good thing. And if at all you know anyone from ANA who is interested, we can definitely collaborate and prepare such an app. It would be a very great help to all the lay people and even to people who want to study the caves.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, is that?
We'll have one last question from Mr. Chatak Dhakne. Can you please go
Yeah.
ahead and ask your question, Mr. Chatak? Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jai Bhim, sir, I'm Chatak Dhakne.
Jai Bhim.
It was a very insightful, very informative talk. In your talk, couple of times you mentioned about the workshop. So, is the information about the workshop is publicly available on your website or somewhere? Basically, all the workshops all over Maharashtra or all over India. If it's publicly open, like, future 3 months or future 6 months, whenever people visiting there, they can try to join those workshops.
Fine. I mean, we don't have a single website or a page wherever it has been mentioned. But of course, there are various groups we have strategically formed, and they conduct their own workshops every week, every Sunday, or every public holiday. But in case if you happen or anybody comes to India and they want to know about it, they can always contact me. My numbers are there. They can contact me. Or even if you browse through Facebook, you will see a lot of ads. I mean, the appeals which comes across from various people. We are all connected, and but we do an independent activity for a simple reason that I would like to have simultaneous workshops at various cave complexes. Because if at all we keep on doing only one cave at a time, it would take a more period of time and years and man efforts. So rather than doing that, we have spread ourselves so that at any given point of time, at any given Sunday, we will at least have 4 to 5 workshops in different cave complexes. So we'll certainly look into this thing to have one single page. But in case any one of you happen to come, say probably in a month or in 2 months or 3 months across, whenever you land in India, you can just give me a call or ask for the information, and I can provide you the details of the various workshops near your place or any other place across in Maharashtra. Right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to take 1 minute, if I may. Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as you said about the developing the Caves app, as Charudatta said, and the other projects, something definitely I will pass on to the board, and we can talk about the details and see if the board will go ahead with developing such thing, something that can be benefited to the larger community. If they are
Absolutely.
visiting and take the benefit and get the knowledge from these caves and understand the historical significance of these caves, where it has started. So thank you. Yeah, definitely I will forward this message out to the board.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Thank you so much, Professor Bhoskar, for sharing the insights. One of the main key takeaway for me, I would like to mention is spreading awareness and creating a mass movement and using the right lingo, which is something is going to be a key takeaway for me. And we would really love to invite you again on our online Vihara sessions to speak on any other topics. This was really engaging. We had a lot of participants who were really interested in understanding more and also sharing their experiences. So this was really insightful. Thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your research and your vast knowledge with us today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks again. On behalf of Anna, I
Thank
would
you.
like to thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Right.
Yeah.
It was pleasure to share knowledge with all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, we are glad that we could get this opportunity to hear from you.
Yeah.
So it is time now to conduct our online Vihara
Yeah.
session. So firstly, I would like to say thank you to Bhante Shri Sivalli for blessing us with the Dhamma talk. Also to Vishmay Ramteke and Krantiji for conducting the wonderful and engaging kids motivational story session. And our thanks to you, Professor Bhoskar, for sharing your insights. With this, we would like to conclude today's online Vihara session and hopefully see you all next week. Thank you. Namo Buddhaya.